So they're there, they're ready?
Yep. Oh, both of them. Oh.
Get my head right in the middle of the moon. Oh, أنا قاعد يواهي كتشوك كوس وأنا نصير أصنعري. Gazita Osvio, you're just going on that's going to start or not that early. Okay, so no opening. We're still within the law recital, so it's an open from the beginning to the end. There's no openings and closings each day, just to identify that the day has come to an end and the day is beginning. And so as we broke for lunch or dinner, and we took off at 2:30, then now it's just to identify that the continued discussion is beginning. And for tonight, we identified that if there was any science or anything that we had to go over, anything, even questions, if anybody had any inquiries or anything, or if anybody wanted to present something, any questions or anything like this, clarifications on what has been discussed in the creation story so far, the formation of the league. And as you have seen, if you're here with us, then you know that the creation story isn't just something that happened a long time ago at the beginning of time. The creation story is what continues to happen every day as your experiences build up. It is what creates your identity. Of course, all the experiences that you had up until yesterday created your identity of today. And then the today stuff that you gather, then this adds on to your accumulated knowledge. And then your accumulated knowledge, maybe, let's say, for instance, maybe before, the day before yesterday, maybe you had, just as example, reading a book. Maybe you got to the last chapter, and up until that point, you get a certain perception of what the book is. But of course, until you read the ending, then everything from the beginning to where you are now, to how many chapters, well, of course, that will all be altered by what the ending is. And so your ending is never actually here. You are always continuously evolving. You have maybe an ending, so to speak, as far as being the end of today. So at the end of today, you look back at your today, and you got all this accumulated knowledge of today, that if it's not the same type of knowledge, if it's something new, then it's going to be added on to. This is where it's like the last chapter being added on to the book that you read up until now. But if you've already got this knowledge in parts of your previous chapters that you read, well, then that is, let's say, for instance, if let's see how, if you got 50 pounds of knowledge, and you find out that 25 pounds of that knowledge is something that you already have from last week or last year, well, then it's not 50 pounds of new knowledge that you have that you are accumulating. It's just 25 pounds. It's just you have repeated some knowledge that you've already had. And so it's to identify that we are never done our creation story. It is happening right now. You are still in your creation story, and your creation story being part of the larger creation story. Of course, this is where you find your place within creation. That you look at creation and you say, what does creation need? Well, creation needs whatever you determine. Maybe it needs a new drum. And so you, from your own little part of this, from your own little story adding to the collective, then this is the creation story of us, of the entire collective. And so we can consider then right now that our creation story, or the collective in the non-native world, Your creation story is going into a, a suicidal chapter where you are killing yourself and you are learning, gaining the knowledge of how to kill yourself, and you're applying it. So the non-native world in their creation story is, you think up until now, while you look back and it's corruption, war. Well, now, what does all of that lead to? Well, an end. What's the end of war? Of course, that's death. It's the final solution. Final solution to your problem. And so in the non-native world, they are approaching their final solution, the final chapter in their book, in their creation story. You cannot continue in your creation by bringing things to an end. Let's say if up until now, 10 chapters in your book, and each chapter dealt with creating of something. It created your friendship. It created your knowledge. It created your identity, whatever. And then the final chapter in your book that you're reading shows you how to break it all down, how to destroy it all. You can take that out. It's stinking. You made a mistake doing that because there's wax on the bottom of that. Maybe just put it outside. I'm gonna have to find something else. Or
Did you want me to get my phone?
no. Oh, what is that? Is that water? Whose is that? Can you throw that out? Oh, I'm gonna use that cup. Just dump it.
I asked me to give it.
Okay, so this is what's happening right now in the entire world. Your creation story has been happening up until approximately 100 years ago. And as of 100 years ago, every word that you have read in this final chapter is about your death, your destruction. It's about how your life ends. So right now, we are watching the end of the non-natives creation story. It's not something that is, say, you're just reading a book and you're discovering, like a book that's written. No, you're actually writing this book. You're actually writing that end that is gonna be your end, your suicide, your death. So your creation story never ends right up until the second that you die, just like my father. He passed from this world in a natural way. And so his creation story is living right until he dies. But your creation story, up until 100 years ago, has been killing yourself. So you actually stop living. A person who commits suicide, at whatever point they decide to commit suicide, it's at that point of their decision that they stop living. Now they could try, as you know, a bunch of people in this world have tried to commit suicide time and time again, and it seems like more like a cry out for help than a suicide, because there's no such thing really as an attempted suicide. There's either suicide or there's an attempt at crying out for help.
Mhm.
So the people who survive what's identified as attempts at suicide, it's not really an attempted suicide. That's not really them committing suicide. That's them leaving some loose ends open in what they're doing, knowing that these loose ends could keep them alive in this world. Whereas, a person who wants to end their life, they're going to do it. There's no loose ends that you can leave open. A person will put a gun to their head, pull the trigger. There's no loose ends there. Unless something like what we've seen. I don't know if everybody's seen this, but everybody's seen what happened to this politician, this woman in Argentina. I think it's Argentina. Just yesterday, an attempted assassination. They tried to kill her. right in front of her own house. There was a whole bunch of people around. Somebody comes up through the crowd, points a gun this far away from her face. Did everybody see that? This is something for women to know, that this is a woman politician in so-called South America. So you know the atmosphere that she is in. She's in complete male dominance anywhere in so-called South America. First and foremost, the religification of the people there are all male dominant, because everybody, even the indigenous people, are a bunch of dumb Christians in the South. Our own people, dumb Christians, to be clinging on to the poison that killed them. So this is what we know about the South. So you got not only the corruption of democracy, which is male dominance, but then you got the corruption of male dominance on top of male dominance, where male dominance has uh, secured or solidified its position in this world by long time ago relegating the women to obscurity. And so now it's the women themselves participating in their own oppression, their own male dominant oppression. Anyways, it's to this point where this woman is walking out of her house. She's an embattled politician. She's got some scandals or whatever, connected to her. But big deal. You got scandals. If you had a scandal, well, let's shoot you in the head. That's the solution to if you got scandals, Well, apparently for women, if there's a scandal, if they're a politician, the solution is to shoot them in the head, because this is what is attempted to happen in, again, I don't know if it was Argentina, wherever, in so-called South America. So anyways, a guy points a gun in a woman's face right in broad daylight, while we're sitting here talking about peace. Big deal. They don't have no clue in the South that we're sitting here talking about peace. They have no clue that there is a struggle in this world, struggle against their violence to bring peace back. Of course, a person who has a gun in their hand has no clue of anything, but if they're using that gun to further their own special interest, then that person has no clue about nothing. So anyways, a guy in this world points a gun in a woman's face yesterday, a handgun. Don't know what it is. Kind of looks like any gun that you would see in the movies, So it looks like it's a big gun, and any gun you'd see in the movies, from what we see in the movies, usually blows people's heads off. That's what we can expect. If you put a gun this close to somebody's face and you shot them, you could expect that. But in this case, it was faulty. The guy pointed the gun right in her face. She's seen it. She's seen the gun coming. I think I posted about it. If you look at it, you can see the woman being cognizant of her seeing a gun coming at her being pointed at her face, and you can see her reaction. Now, when you see it and you know that the gun didn't go off, well, then this changes the whole perception of what you're seeing. But if you're watching it knowing that this gun is going to go off, then what you're seeing is a different perception. You're seeing something completely different. But right now in the world, everybody is looking at it as that it's less than what it actually is, because she lived. She did not get killed. Oh, well, okay, she didn't get killed. So there is no urgency there. Whereas if she got killed, everyone would know the urgency. Everybody would. But here now, anyways, it has prompted something, candlelight vigils and stuff like that. People do come out and to support. I think she's the ex-vice president or the current vice president. But no matter, doesn't really matter if she's current or former or whatever. Let's imagine, Trump was in office, just because he was Trump, did him just being Trump give the right to anybody to go up to him, pull a gun out, shoot him in the face? No, that doesn't give anyone the right to do that. As we are learning in law, as we're going to find out, the only time a person has the right to take another person's life is if that person has committed murder in the first degree, rape in the first degree, or treason in the first degree. And then further from there, if it is still rape, treason, or murder, but not in the first degree, then they're not put to death. But if it is first degree, automatically put to death. But if it's not, if it's any less than that, the only thing that anyone has the right to do, if they are in fact guilty, is to banish that person. That's the only right that anybody has. No one has the right to detain anyone, to cage them, to stop somebody else in this world who is alive just like you. No one has the right to stop them or prevent them from living the life experience. But we all have that responsibility to stop the person from living the life experience who kills, who rapes, who treasons upon the people. Meaning treason, you're basically putting people's lives in danger anyway. So it comes down to rape and murder. So yeah, the only time that people have the right to resort to violence themselves is, of course, if and only if somebody initiates violence upon you. You do not have the right to start violence if somebody is in your face this close and yelling in your face. Blah, 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 blah. You have the right to move away. But if you are backed into a corner, well, then under those conditions, then you have the right to do whatever you need to do to survive. And so survival, as we all know, is relegated to a part of the brain that governs our actions when we are in a motion of survival. Fight or flight, flight or fight. In that case, like somebody's yelling in your face, you're in a position of flight or fight. It's not fight or flight, it's flight or fight. So flight being the first is what the first option that you take. Flight, get away. There's some idiot yelling in your face. That's a stupid person. You don't engage a stupid person. Look at many people my age in Ganawagi. They have lived that stupid life. They have fought when they were younger. And now if they were my age and they've gone through that life of fighting, well, if they got to my age, they sure as hell wouldn't be promoting it. They would be telling you how stupid it is to fight, how it actually diminishes your quality of life, not while you're fighting. While you're fighting 40 years ago, while you were 20 years old, well, there you thought it was actually building you up because you're fighting, showing off. It's your ego doing this. And why do guys do that? Well, there's some girl watching me. I'm going to make myself look big, or I'm going to beat a boss, and the girl is going to respond to that, because in male dominance, as you know, the belief is, the practice, conduct is that it's the strongest one that gets to the sperm, and that's the one that's going to fertilize. So it's no interaction. In male dominance, there is no interaction from the female. It is not even required. In rape, what's required of the female? Does she have to make noises? Does she have to move this way or that way? In rape, nothing is required of the female. All that is required is that she lay there and she shut up. That's the only thing that is required. So it shows you in this world that male dominance is, as you know, but we're just deciphering, gaining understandings. But it shows you that male dominance is so completely out of any kind of logic. No woman no man can ever logicize with the person who is of that. So you should never engage with a stupid person who's in your face yelling. Let's say you are in rush hour traffic and somebody starts yelling at you. Somebody goes, "Hey," you go, "Hey," and they go, "Oh yeah?" Then they go do something else until soon both of you are pulled over and you are willingly getting out of your car to go see this person, do whatever, and they just quite simply pull a gun out and blow you away. This is and has been known to happen. It's not something that is not known in this world. It has happened. Everybody has heard of road rage. If you have ever been in California, you know that people get killed almost every day there as a result of road rage. People carry guns. When you're in places like Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, where you can carry guns and you get into a road rage incident, well, you'd be stupid to allow your mind to slip into a road rage incident in any state like Texas, because they're crazy there. They carry guns. No matter where you are, anybody carrying guns, those are crazy people. People with brains do not carry guns. People with brains do not have guns. And so we do not engage. Brains does not engage with stupidity. Brains sees stupidity and knows that stupid is stupid. So there's no logicizing with stupid. So stupid just quite simply uses brains quite simply moves away from stupid, because stupid is stupid. And if you engage with stupid, you become stupid. You perpetuate the stupidity. And so in this world, the solution that male dominance sees to basically everything is to kill. You look at Eloy Mankaban. Now, this is this guy who is no longer with us in, what was it, Bolivia? Where the heck is he? Can somebody look on that sign? What does it say? Where's Eloy Mankaban from? Somebody right there, look at that sign.
Oh,
Mapuche man, that's what it said.
No, you just, we, okay,
By European Chilean genocidal?
okay, he's a Mapuche man who is standing to defend, well, this is where we need it here. Edith, where are you? Where is this guy from? What country? This is no good when we have resources, but we can't access the resources where and when we need it. We gotta be sitting outside. This is,
Chile.
okay, so he's from Chile. Okay, so as Eloy Mankaban knows that he was quite simply protesting. And the solution for male dominance upon anyone protesting is to shoot and kill them. We're talking about white Europeans. Now, Europeans, it doesn't matter. A lot of them coming from Spanish descent, a lot of them don't look white. They're Europeans, they're white Europeans. Doesn't matter what they want to think of themselves or how they look. The fact is that anybody who acts the way that Spanish has in this world, they're acting like white Europeans. And so, yeah, I hope you're offended by that. But so as what Eloy Mankaban had seen and witnessed and experienced himself, is that solution in the male dominant world is to kill whatever is your opponent. Now, in this case, Eloy Mankaban, who was his opponent? He was coming out, standing against people that were destroying the forest. Who were they? It's corporations. So corporations, it's the government of Chile, because the government of Chile is the one that makes the agreements, the contracts with these companies from so-called Canada that go into those territories to exploit And in so-called South America, I don't care, in any country, they're all a bunch of banana republics. You go into any of those countries, any corporation from so-called Canada, going into those countries is given the right to kill native people by the government of Chile and by the government of whatever other country. There, look at Bolivia. Everybody knows what that Bolsonaro or whatever the hell his name was, as to what he done to the land, scorching the earth, burning, setting the earth on fire. Who lived there? Who were the people? Native people. So did any native people come out and say anything? Let's see. If you were getting your house burnt down on purpose, well, do you think you would come out and say something? Of course. The only thing is that these are official killings by governments. And when things like that happen, you never hear about it. To be able to hear about it nowadays, it's really only due to social media. That we know somebody who knows somebody who shared it with us, and even by the time we get it or see it, it's even questionable. We could see it happening, like somebody getting killed. Just like, remember a couple of years ago, there was a Mayan man, a medicine man, who was burned to death by a bunch of insane Christians. Well, that could be any Christian on the planet, because they're all insane. Try to find a sane one, you can't. Anybody who is religified is a fanatic. A fanatic are insane people. Religious people are insane. No one else is gonna just blindly believe lies that don't have any kind of substantiation in the real world. So it tells you, fanatics, they're insane. Religious people are all insane. They will kill you. This is what religious people do. And so religious people are what? Are they people quite simply in a church praying to God? No, religious people are people in a three-piece suit in the corporate office. Women, men. These are the true religious people. Because you think of, okay, in that field of so-called business, imagine you call it business. Your business is all about killing. Because no matter what your business is, I don't care if you are an Uber driver or if you are Elon Musk, your business is destroying. And so everybody together in this religious, fanatical, like sharks in a feeding frenzy, the solution that everybody goes to automatically, if there is a problem, if there is a resistance to the corporation that has to go into that area and extract whatever, they have to go into that area because it's their religious belief. And asserting their religious belief just makes that person, those people, collectively insane. They will do anything. They will kill anyone who stands against them. And so here, what we're seeing in this one little incident yesterday of one woman stupid enough to be a part of democracy, well, she's getting burnt because of her venturing into that male-dominant world of democracy. She is having an attempt on her life yesterday. If it was you, you're watching a gun come at you. Are you thinking about what you're going to have for dinner tomorrow? Are you thinking about, when am I going to see my boyfriend or my husband or my girlfriend? When's the next time we're going to have a good time? Oh, when are we going to go to that Chinese restaurant? If you're seeing a gun come at you, being pointed at you, you know that the person is going to pull the trigger. That's the reason why people do that. And so, what was going through that woman's mind? In that instance, that's it. She's dead. That's it. Now that the gun didn't work, of course, there's a whole other mindset there that she's exposed to and that everybody's exposed to. And because it didn't work, again, what's the term here? Not the importance of it, but the intention of it. It's like, oh, it didn't happen. So it's like nothing. And of course they have this guy in custody and whatever. Would they put this guy to death? If they do, if they're in a country of where they have death penalty, corporal punishment. If they're in a country like that, are they going to put him to death? Well, it's a guy. No, they're not going to put him to death. And he only tried to kill a woman. So no, they'll probably put him in a nice institution, that's better than a jail, where they can study him, where they can, observe him. They'll give him a break because it was just a woman. That person, of course, should be put to death right now. There should not be even any kind of trial. The whole world seen him walk through the crowd, go like this, point the gun this far away. Does it matter? If I'm a mile away or this far away, does it matter? If I'm pointing it right at the person's face, my intent is the same. So, but basically, like I said, you watch the video, it's basically a foot away from her face. So you watch this video, you see the guy come through the crowd, go like that, aim it right at her face and click. Uh-oh, that guy is screwed now. But he didn't accomplish what he wanted, but that woman, what is her current let's say like status? What's her how is she feeling? How is she responding? Well, that woman who in the first place shouldn't have been in democracy, that's male dominant stupidity, but no matter what, a woman to be targeted by a man, to be killed, this man needs to be put to death right away. Right away. You can't allow someone like that to survive. If you do, you are influencing into your own society that corruption that guy decided on his own. What does this mean? It's one person, it's a male deciding, I must kill that person. Who knows? Maybe he was correct. Who knows? Because she was an embattled vice president, and maybe she's directly responsible for, let's see, Eloy Mancapan's death. Maybe she's directly responsible for that. And if that's the case, then right now, I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm actually defending her if she was responsible for Eloy Mancapan's death. But no matter what, is it the right of a single man, one person, to decide in their own head that I am going to assassinate this person in broad daylight in front of other people? And think about this. It's a handgun. I don't know what handgun it is. I don't know nothing about guns. It just looks like a gun in the movies that when you see it, it blows people's heads off. So what would that mean for the people who were directly around her? And if none of you seen the video, there's people all around. Picture your head right here. Picture somebody else's head right here. Somebody else's head all over the place. So let's just imagine that this guy aiming 1 foot away from her, that let's imagine that he missed his aim. Well, he'd be shooting somebody else. But even if he did, if the gun did fire, blow her head off, what's happening to everyone else there? Ooh, right now, everyone else there in that immediate vicinity is just in shock. Oh, they're at home saying, how lucky we are to be alive. No, there was no threat to them. How lucky that one woman is to be alive. But yes, you would be lucky to be alive if you keep that person who done that alive, if you allow them to live. That person must not be allowed to live. No, the only way that that person would be allowed to live is once there is a fact-finding mission to see just what the hell went on. But no matter what, there is no justification in that. Anyways, this is just, I'm talking about it this long, this much in detail, deciphering something in front of your eyes for you to know that women, it's not an oppression that you were getting 2,000 years ago when you were, when democracy was first being invented in Greece. No, it's an oppression that you're getting every minute of the day for the last 2,000 years and right up until now. For any woman on earth to be able to turn the news on and to see that, that's happened to you. It's you. No woman on earth can be comfortable in knowing that that man is alive. How could you be comfortable? Any of you women? Oh, I know how I react or conduct myself to certain things. Look at this. Eloy Mancapan is shot and killed in Chile, and I could be shutting up like everybody else. I could. Is everybody shutting up to it? Well, not necessarily shutting up to it if you don't know, right? If you don't know, well, you're not shutting up about it. You just don't know, so you're not vociferous about it. Well, I have the same access to the same information that you have on a daily basis. I know the same things that you know on a daily basis. I don't have access to anything more than what you do. But it seems like on a daily basis, I know more about you, the non-native people, than you know about yourselves. I know more about what's happening in your world, more about, say, corruptions like this, the reasons why, what's behind it. You, for the most part, most of you, if you're connected to us in this way, most of you hear it from me. And that's fine, you know, maybe you become dependent after a while on getting your information from somebody. Maybe you trust it more from that person or whatever. Maybe you would trust your own information more if you got your own information. And if you got your own information, maybe it would be more real for you to know that when stuff like this happens, when Eloy Mancapan gets shot and killed in Chile, that I cannot sit still here. When a woman in Chile or Argentina, wherever she is, I forget where this is, gets an assassination attempt on her life, I cannot sit still here. What's the big deal? What's the most that I do? I just talk about it. That's it. What do you do? Most people are oblivious to it when they hear it from me. And usually the way that people hear it from me, because they don't know about it, it's kind of like, I don't know, almost like non-participatory participation in something. You know, like, oh, here's some knowledge. Oh yeah, well, it seems like people just don't. It doesn't matter if people get the information from me. You won't do nothing about it anyways. You won't do nothing with it if you get the information yourself. And if you don't get it from me, you don't got any information, so there's nothing for you to worry about. There's nothing to do. This is a complacency. It's a complacency with first and foremost with, yeah, I use this word a lot. and people are starting to dislike it. But first and foremost, it's complacency with stupidity. If you know that a woman is being whatever, attacked, singled out, beaten up, raped, killed. How many times have you heard me talk about, well, there was a woman in Philadelphia at 3 o'clock in the afternoon who got raped on the metro. And everybody who was there watching had their cameras, their phones, and they videoed it. Nobody stopped it. Well, you heard me talk about that. You heard me talk about this woman in Georgia who was being put to death. Well, you heard me talk about that today, but if you were around back then, you heard us talking about it. At the time, you've seen us doing something about it. It seems like maybe I get pissed off at what's happening to women around the world. I say something about it. It seems like you women really don't care. You really don't give a flying crap. What happens to your sisters anyway? I can say this about the women sitting here in this room right now, because on all these things, I've never seen any of you. One who's not sitting in here, eat it. Another one, Mary Claude, who's not sitting in here right now, who are doing translations. But the first night that Mary Claude was in this house, we put her to work right away to call and to make those connections with this woman in Georgia who was all by herself, getting ready to be killed by men. And no woman in the world came to her aid. Imagine if that was you, no woman, and you're getting killed by male dominance. Doesn't that sound like the witch hunts? That woman was in a witch hunt. That woman yesterday, who luckily did not get killed, she was in a witch hunt. And if she would have gotten killed, it actually probably, in the effects that it has upon women, it probably would have been better for other women if she got killed. As crazy as that sounds, hopefully that doesn't happen. Knock on wood, it's not going to happen. But it just seems this way for women. I don't see anything that gets you off your ass to take action on these things. Now, who am I to be saying something? Am I scolding women? I don't think so. I'm pointing out something that is a corruption upon all of us, and I'm saying something about it. And women don't say anything about these things. Is that understandable? To a degree, yes, it is understandable. The woman is the one who is oppressed. So is it her that's got to say something about what's being done to her? No, it's me who's got to say something about it. It's me who's got to do something about it. And when I say me, I'm not saying just myself, me as a guy. It's guys that have to do stuff about this. So from here to so-called Argentina, all the guys should be up in arms. But I know that once we get across that so-called southern border of the so-called imaginary United States, I know that male dominance becomes exponentialized. Men in so-called Mexico are killing women left and right all the time. The men there, are they men? Well, men don't kill women, but they do in Mexico all the time. Well, what kind of men are those? Let's examine them. Are they men or are they created? They are created by the so-called United States. All of Mexico is the beggar at the door to the castle. All of them are there begging when everything is going through them, right by them, right through the door that they're standing at. And all they can do is kill their women. It's not safe in Mexico. for any woman. It's not safe for any man. It's like that in Guatemala. It's like that in Honduras. It's like that in Panama. It's like that all the way, right from here. It's not safe in so-called Canada for women. It's not safe in the so-called United States. That means it's not safe anywhere on earth for women. Is that a surprise? It's not a surprise to me. I already know that. Do women already know that? Yes, they already know that. When women already know something, then why do women not stand together? How come women are not standing together up against their common threat? What's the common threat in this world to women? Only men. Piss poor examples of men. This is your common threat. But where you are at here, the people here in so-called Canada, well, I haven't seen anybody pull out a gun and point it in a woman's face in public in who knows how long. Maybe since the Wild West days, but you know that this has happened to women. But it hasn't been publicized here in a very long time. So women here aren't really, you're not really confronted by it. You're not really confronted by it. You really don't care. No action you're going to take. Myself, I don't know why. Maybe it's because, quite simply, because of the teachings that my mother gave me, the way that she raised me. I see it. I got to say something. I cannot not say something. I cannot be quiet about when a woman is on death row in jail for not doing anything to anyone, not being guilty of anything, except saying to somebody who's weak enough to listen to her say, hey, why don't you go kill that guy? Oh, okay, I'll go kill him. What guy is that stupid to do? That stupid to do something like that? And again, the girl gets put to death in that scenario, and the guy walks free. This is something for every woman to be pissed off about, for everybody to be angry about. Well, it happened before, it's not happening now, so really, you don't have anything to rally around, do you? No, you don't. Nothing. That's what it seems like, because we don't see the woman rallying. It's good to see the women are doing stuff for the water. The women are doing stuff for maybe this family or that family or for this place. But what are the women doing for the women? What noise are you making in this world to push back against the things that are murdering your sisters? Because that woman now, she may not have been shot in the face and killed, but her life is changed forever. Is she gonna be just as vociferous on anything now? Publicly? No. You know she's not gonna be. So her life has ended. What does it mean to you? You don't even know, because you don't know what was coming out from her. Why was it so important that a guy had to kill her? Killing somebody shuts them up. Killing somebody stops what they're doing. No, she's not dead, but she is not going to carry out in doing whatever the hell it was that she was in doing, whatever it was, maybe something being exposed. Maybe she was saying, hey, all these guys are crazy, they're going to kill me. Maybe that's all she was saying to you. All the women, you got something you got to read in this. You got something you got to do in this. Well, what do you got to do? How can you do anything if you're here and she's there and there's a world of lies in between us? Well, same thing with Eloy Mancapan. Same thing with Celestino Cordova, Roger Chuck Mendoza. They're a world away from us. What the hell can we do for them? Nothing. But I don't shut up about it. I don't sit on my hands and not say a damn thing. I'm saying I'm doing as much as I possibly can from where I am. Where are you women? Where are you? Any woman, the women that are here right now, where are you in your voice in these things? Even more so, where are the Native women? I know where they're at. I know where you're at. And so I'll do the job for you. I'll raise my voice on behalf of that woman. I'll make the noise for her. Where to bring to your attention, to bring to the attention of all women around the world, that this insane thing that just happened, and if it's Argentina, and wherever it was, doesn't matter. This insane thing that happened, you got to make a noise wherever you are about it. Because wherever you are, the so-called country, the government that you are in, has a relations with that government of, if it's what did I say it was? Argentina. Your government has relations with them. Your government is doing business trade with them. Was it an official government policy of this? No, but are you going to allow your country, your voice, to continue to be in a place such as that is doing that to women? Right now, all you women here in so-called Canada, Justin Trudeau is not saying, hey, let's hold off our relations with Argentina. He's not even saying anything. This means that all you women here in so-called Canada are compliant with it because Justin Trudeau is your voice. You're compliant. You're compliant by not saying anything. Well, maybe saying something is really just a crutch for me to say, oh, well, I did something. When just saying something, maybe it's not enough. Maybe you're looking at what I'm saying and seeing that I'm just an opportunist to saying whatever I want. Well, as that opportunist, I took my opportunity and I raised my voice to the world about what's going on with Roger Chalk Mendoza, Celestino Cordova, Leonard Peltier, any of our people, Eloy Mancaban. I'm even saying it about this white woman. I'm raising my voice about it. Right now, I'm not raising my voice that loud, but you hear me talking about it. I won't say that I am an example. Do not follow whatever I do. I won't tell anybody that. But do something. What is it that you are doing? Each woman. I'll tell you, no matter what you think, it is not enough. You are not doing enough. And you might look at me and say, well, that's why the men are supposed to be doing these things. Yes, that's fine. Yes, I am doing it. My mother told me to do these things, so I got to do it. Well, I'm one guy. How many other guys do you know like that are doing that? Maybe you do. I don't know. And if you do, well, maybe you should have pointed him out to me, and maybe you should have connected us together to see if our business is in fact on the same level. And therefore we could have business together. We could do something together. I don't see these things happening. What I do see happening is people that I am talking to sit there and absorb. And that's it. I am seeing the collective of women do something through the Women's Nation. The other day, we see that the heads of the Women's Nation took an action of this apostasy here in Ganawagi. They did it here by signing their documents, being witnesses to each other, apostasy, which is to remove themselves from the corruptions of the Catholic Church. Wow, these are white women, non-native women, a Zapotec woman, all working together to do this. Well, that's something. It is something. Is it enough? Well, that's only for you women to identify. Is it enough what you're doing? Me, I look at myself and I know it's never enough. I always got to look for new ways, new things of how to get the voice out, or new ways to have the impact, the desired outcome, to have that impact. Always looking at new ways to connect, to be able to network, to have a larger effect on these things. I know this is what I am always doing. Big deal. Me doing anything doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that it's got to be that it's the shining example to others. No, maybe it is actually, maybe I'm the dumb one. Maybe I am the one that is wasting my time. And maybe the women are seeing that, hey, you're wasting your time anyways. We wouldn't do that. So you wouldn't do that. So I'm looking at it. Why wouldn't you do that? If I'm doing it, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I am the dumb one to expect somebody to do something. When I do know, no one will do nothing. It's just me who will do something. No one else will lift a finger. This is what we are coming to see. And maybe this is where you are just becoming dependent on knowing that there's some other idiot out there like me who's going to be doing these things, saying these things, and you don't have to worry about it. So you don't do it. You don't do a thing. I understand that some people don't have, you don't have this established where you're doing these Zooms every week where you can talk to people. And even right now, who am I talking to? Nobody. Who's there? Nobody's there. Does that matter? We're talking to the algorithm. We're talking to the lie. We are confronting the lie. You better figure out how to do this. Each of you women. Because the reality is the world is steamrolling right over you, taking away the time, the little bit of time that you have, and there's things that you are not getting accomplished. Well, okay. I can't say this 100% about the women that we know that we're working with. So we're talking about if the shoe fits, you're going to wear it. But even the ones that I know, I can say you are not doing enough. Big deal. I say that doesn't mean anything. We all do at our own pace that we can. We can't do more than what we are evolved to. We'll be a little bit more evolved tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be able to do that little bit more that you're seeing today that should be done. You don't have the time to wait until tomorrow. Women, you just don't have that time. If a woman is being shot in the face on live TV anywhere in this world, you don't have the time. Big deal. She wasn't shot in the face. That was the intent. You are lucky. All women, you are lucky because you didn't watch a woman's face splatter on TV. You didn't see her head explode. You didn't see all the people get chunks of brain and face on their faces. You didn't see blood splatter all over them. You didn't see the movies. You saw reality yesterday. Now let's look at reality. Reality is a man with a gun killing women. That's reality. But Another reality here is that his gun didn't go off. So you bide a little time. You got a little bit of time. That's what you got. That's all you got. A little bit of time until the next woman is in fact going to have her head blown off on live TV. The time to act is now. This is what it's showing you. Act now. Don't wait until another woman is gonna have maybe the same thing, be lucky and not get shot on live TV, or else get shot on live TV, or else get killed by the state for doing something that she didn't do. Like that woman, and I knew her name at one time, that woman in Georgia, she's dead now. She's been put to death about 6 or 7 years ago. And at that time, we did know her name. We spoke her name. I mentioned her name. I don't know if that does any bit of good. Imagine if you were the one being killed, the woman being singled out. And imagine if people around the world were saying your name. Even though you know you're being killed, you're going down, people around the world saying your name. You know that something has been accomplished. She's not just dying, getting killed, and, well, everything's just swept under the rug. The point is here, the great law of peace, the establishment of it. Is it for me? Is it for guys? Do we need it? Do I need it? Do I even want it? Do guys want it? Who is it for? Who needs it? Is it the guys or the women? Guys do not need it. I do not need to waste my time on great law of peace. I do not need to waste my life doing something that is not for my direct, immediate benefit. I don't need to do that. Who needs that? You do. The women need it. That woman who almost got killed, shot in the face, she needs it. She needs some guy to come forward and to stop the insanity and to say, be the example. This is what we're not supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to do, and to stand against the other insanity. You women need that. The men don't need that. The men could be in the status quo of just having used there to be used whenever we want. The men would be better off with that. It's you that needs it. So if it's you that needs it, the women, you gotta do something. We learned of a woman, Jagunsese, who did something. Try to compare yourself to Jagunsese. Any woman. See if you'd be satisfied with yourself. I don't know how people measure themselves in this world, but I know that nobody measures themselves. Because if you did, you'd maybe be disgusted with yourself. You maybe be scrambling to improve yourself, to affect your beliefs, your words into the world. But you are experiencing something that I see in the Longhouse that I personally had to pull out of the women, push and pull it. He's got to speak. He's got to speak. The women were not speaking in the Longhouse. We're not talking. And then they started talking about their moons. And then we were in the Longhouse. You're not going to be in the Longhouse. You're not going to have law. You're not going to have anything correct until you women start being it. On any level, whether it's within my people, which there are no women being it, or if you're a Martian women got to do the same thing. You got to take control of your house. You got to start doing something. You are just not doing something. Light the fire. Get your fire burning. Your fire doesn't allow you to ever sit on anything. I know, I got a fire. It doesn't let me stay quiet. Okay, anyways, Edith, there was supposed to be somebody from the south.
He's not there.
They're not there? Okay, well, unless there's something that anybody's got to say or ask any questions about any part of the law that we've up until now, unless there's that, no need for us to keep staying here. I'll just keep whipping a dead horse here. So is there anything that anybody, any questions or anything? And right now we're live on Facebook also, right? So let's take a look. Is there any questions or anything there on Facebook? Let's resolve this right now. If there isn't, and nobody's got anything to say, let's close up and do the other stuff we got to do. Okay, well, there's somebody in here. Can't tell way back in the studio audience there. There's somebody put their hand up. Oh, it's Kelly. Oh, gee. Okay. Well, why don't you come over here and say whatever it is you gotta say. And let's keep this as short and concise as possible also. So straight to the point.
This is the first time. Kelly, daughter of Beverly, granddaughter of Betty, great granddaughter of Jean. Like, Stuart, I agree 100% with what you're saying. But I think it's important to understand that women are living in a world where they are beaten and attacked on a constant basis. That's my childhood since I was walking. So I had to learn how to be a person who fights for myself and stands up against all that. And I have to say, you know, I can continue to attribute the reason why I can be that strong is because I grew up in the neighborhood I grew up in. And it allows me to have that, it's a male backbone. And at 62, you know, I have to say I'm tired of, I want to just be a female in this world, but I can't. I have to be 100% on radar all the time. I can never just even for a moment, like, well, here I have to say truthfully, I'm walking, I feel walking safely, but there's still that whole outer world that's there. And it starts from our little girls from when they're little all the way up. And it starts for our boys too. So I really do believe it's a collective. I think what you're doing here is you're creating that space for the women. That's what I'm witnessing. I think sometimes you're being extra tough, but I understand that toughness as well, because we are at a state on our planet that if we don't, it's got, you know, this is where I come in all the time. It's for our children. There's just no other way the kids are going to learn if we don't. So, you know, the girls that I was watching over, they watched me be tough all the time through the city. I had to be, but they also, they learned from me to care for people, like wherever they went. So they actually started to actively, like one time, Kelly, can we go and give this other woman money? By the time they all gave this woman money, 5 girls, she had $5 in her pocket, 5 little girls. So, but if the men are the light protectors, then where does it begin? Where the men start doing the work that they're supposed to do, so that the women can actually be in a safe space with the children, that they can start applying that. And then it's like a daycare land. There's no men being there for examples for little boys. And then I'll see my partner and these boys who are on drugs and rated as being bad. I've seen them stand at attention to them. So what is that? I would say it's because where he's a man is in his creative path. And so they witnessed that. And so to me, that you're being that living example right now. And the times what I listened to and heard elders speak, and me with the Hopi, these are the times we're in. There wasn't going to be too many people.
Okay, I'll say don't deflect because you started talking about me. We know there's stuff that I'm doing, but it takes away when you say, I know you're doing it. Let's look at realistically actions. Realistic actions that women have to take, gotta take. Okay, so we know the corruption is in the interaction with the male. So that's where women have to take action. First and foremost, what's the number one interaction? We know what it is, sex. That's the number one interaction, why there's male dominance, so that the male has the access to the women in the way that he wants when he wants. Okay, that's the number one thing. So, and we know that the goal of this in the subconscious mind of the male is to perpetuate his corrupt seed. He wants other children, other little guys like him to be carrying on what he does. That's in the very back of the mind. That's the basic blueprint that everybody's got. We got to create other ones to do what we're doing. So here is the realistic thing that women have to do. And when we look at the circumstances of why women are in a lot of situations, it's because a lot of women either just don't care, or else they are having sex with men that don't care. So it's either the men that don't care or it's the women that don't care. Now let's see. Woman's sexuality, you becoming pregnant, is that my responsibility? No, you becoming pregnant is your responsibility. I identify all the time that any unplanned pregnancies, it's because of guys. I'll say that from my perspective. You got to say from your perspective that it's the woman's fault that unplanned pregnancies are in this world, and the women have to start pushing upon the young girls, upon other girls, to stop having babies as single mothers. Now, you know that when you're with the guy, most girls know they're going to have a baby with him, they're going to end up alone. Most girls know they're going to be a single mother. But women, most women don't give a damn about that corruption that they have when they go ahead and do it. Because those women know they're going to be raising a child on their own. They, in doing that, are bringing pain and suffering into the world upon themselves. Women have to take control of your reproductive system and say that you are not going to be having sex with any guy that doesn't guarantee you, and this is going to get this bad, you're going to need a guarantee in writing before having sex with a guy, because you're going to use that in court against him. Because this is what it's coming down to. Guys are just being allowed freely to drop kids anywhere, and girls are complying with this, and we're bringing children into this world that have no place as a result, that don't feel they have a place. And those children are not looking at the male as they're the cause of this. They're looking at the mother, that they are the cause of this. So women, don't deflect. Put your foot down and take responsibility for your reproductive system. I'm not saying don't have sex, because that would I'd be committing suicide if I told women don't have sex. No, stop having sex with piss poor examples of guys, and all of you know who and what they are. You know it while you're doing it. You know it. You know that this guy you're having sex with, he doesn't give a good goddamn, and he's going to finish the task where you are going to get pregnant. You are believing. You're under some false belief. Oh, you're not going to finish where I'm going to get pregnant, are you? Oh, no, don't worry. Okay. This is the circumstances. We can say directly no, but then we look at how many single mothers in this world. How did that happen? How did that happen? Stupidity. Does it happen in the heat of the moment? No, it doesn't. Because a woman can address this ahead of time. So it's not in the heat of the moment. When you don't address it ahead of time, you're leaving it to the man in the heat of the moment to not decide to not get you pregnant. He decides to get you pregnant when you don't even know. Because for the girls, you're looking at, what? You're done already? I had no clue. And by that time, for that girl, it's too late. She's pregnant. Something here is an imbalance where, yes, the guys are inflicting this, but girls are complying. You cannot tell me it's not with compliance. I know it's with compliance. So when I say women got to do something, we're talking about this woman in wherever, Argentina or wherever, somebody pulls a gun out, tries to shoot her in the face. Well, what do you do about that? Do you come out and say, don't have unwanted pregnancies? It's part of it. It's only the tip of the iceberg. The real things that have to be addressed is not with the men. The men got to address that in themselves. The real things that you women got to address is the things that you don't address within yourselves. Your own control of yourself. Now, I know what you said. Everybody knows. Women have been under oppression. Yes, we all know that. I've been under oppression for 500 years. It doesn't squeeze me into making the wrong decisions. I don't compromise my integrity. So let's focus here. Let's not deflect. Let's put responsibility where responsibility is. That women have responsibility to rise up. It's your responsibility. And it has nothing to do with how I am going to assist that. What if I don't assist it? What if I'm not doing anything to assist the woman's voice? Well, then, oh, well, okay, nobody's doing anything. Then you just sit there and twiddle your thumbs. Mm-hmm. That means you got to work even harder if I'm not assisting it. If you look around and you see no guys are assisting you, what do? Do you say, well, the men got to do this? No. You look at reality and you deal realistic with reality and you start identifying. You rub it in the men's face. You wiggle it right at them and you say, look, this is what you are. Literally, the women have to do this. No, you are not allowed in my house until your mind conforms with peace. Not the way that he says, the way that you say. So the women have to have a whole plan in place. There is a plan in place. It's called the Women's Nation. It's a matter of affecting it. Yes, you are there. You made a whole bunch of statements. What do you do now? You gotta affect it. Make it real. Do something together collectively for these things that are the tip of the spear of male dominance, oppressing women. So it's like water flowing. You look at where the water is found the headway to be able to flood out somewhere, that's where you gotta go. That's where you gotta address. Over here, where you are in your comfort, what you're addressing is really your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone. And I won't say do something about this woman, because I'm already saying something about it. You've got to find your way. You've got to make your voice more real, more assertion. Because that woman, in wherever she is, who had a gun pulled out on her, they there cannot say or do anything about it. You can say something about it. And here's the reality. If white women started saying stuff about what white men are doing, then you won't be deflecting. Then you'll be focusing. So start focusing. All women, number one, white women are the ones who have more responsibility than anyone else to address these things. You might say, oh, why? It's all of us. That's unfair. Big deal. It's unfair. Tough luck. Everything's unfair, right? Male dominance is unfair. It singled you out. That's unfair. But also that personification, not personification, the way that is promoted by the white woman, allowing their white men to conduct themselves the way that they do, it promotes a white, what do they call that? A white privilege. Even without you not being the one that's inflicting it. It's the male doing it. By the women not saying anything, you're riding on the coattails, allowing it. And to everybody else, it's like you're part of it. Women got to prove. You want to be alive, you got to prove that you want to be alive. If a person wants to get out from under oppression, nobody else is responsible for taking the action to get them out from under oppression. Not somebody else on the outside who you're dependent on helping you. Nope. It's not my responsibility for anything. For nothing. I don't have to do anything in this world. I do things. That's my choice. I do it because my mother told me. I'm complying. I make the choice to comply with my mother. And so I know that when somebody complies with that, you see action. And so I know that when I see action, well, then there is something in motion. If you don't see action, you can deduce that there's nothing in motion. Anyways, I don't know.
Yeah, first of all, there was no intention to deflect. Really, I'm here is asking because of being able to understand the side, the mind, the male mind as well. Because I'm saying I do feel like I'm in between two worlds. But on that white side, that's 100% the responsibility of the white women, because it is the white men in at least the last 2,000 years is what they did on the planet. And I don't want to lose the higher mind of what I was trying to say here. I feel that it's really a partnership that has to work here to really get to the crux of what's going on and how to, like, I can honestly say I have been yelling. I have been places where I've yelled at those white men going, this is what you're doing. You rape the children, you beat them, you do this, you do that, you do this and that. So then I think in the moment, here and there, I see eyes looking and they're not used to hearing that and they can't do anything with it. So as far as women, I can maybe say that through so much experience, when I slam it back, it happens. But I feel that I have this strong male side because of what's happened to me. So, and that's why I'm here. Like, I'm really asking, does the female have to have the male side? Because you did give me a warning in a sense. You said, that young, crazy, white kid on the bus that I talked about. And, to be careful. So, but if I don't, because there's no life protector standing up for women anywhere. So that's why I'm here to be engaged and talk, because it begins with the children, and then how do we as life givers, how do we really get to this? What I really 100% agree with what you're saying. Of course I feel like a little, again, because what am I doing? Well, I am doing something. So maybe it's how do we get to a greater collective? Because I'll tell you, I just talked to someone, a movie, Stoning of Solal. Women get stoned and they get beaten up. So, I believe I've been in enough small situations to know that I do stand up. But, I witnessed in Vancouver, our Native girls, I came back, I went to buy food for them. They were holding up, Georgia and that. And next thing I come back to find out they've all been just, beaten up by the cops. And I stood in front of there and I just went into a zone. There was no intention to do it. And I slammed them all and they stood mocking, but they all of a sudden they all dispersed, except for the one who had the only eyes of concern about what I was saying to them. So I think because I'm strong, I'm lucky. I get to go into and I get to, because in a sense, it's when you're speaking the truth, you do have this power that I see. It does seem to come around you and be able to move, but again, I'm here because as a female who's really, really strong and stands up to men all the time and they have to back off or chant something and next thing they're waving away from me. How does, our little girls and all that, how can they get through that to become someone like me who's strong and yet, and that's why I'm here, because there's such a greater mystery around all of that to understand, for women to understand the mind of the man, the journey, because it's everywhere. And I 100% agree with you. I really do believe this. It does start with the whites, because if we get it, and as women, how do we help our partners? If they go, yes, this is what I've done, and this is what here comes time for redeeming or whatever it is, that sweater of whatever's happened, it starts to unravel. But I do believe that it really comes with the white first, because they're the last ones to whatever perpetuate it across the whole planet. And then we will be able to probably figure out where actually it goes, if it's, goes behind them. And where, because you said this before, what is it in the white European mind that this disease or whatever this is, why did it affect them the worst, it seems, when you look at it?
Well, say with alcohol, people say certain people shouldn't drink alcohol, whatever. Well, yeah, is that so? Maybe everybody should drink alcohol, because it doesn't turn someone into an asshole. It amplifies the ones who are assholes. So we can detect the people who are the assholes. So not to say everybody go ahead and drink and then observe, no, but to identify that the corruption or the source of corruption here, that we're both identifying, that the whole world knows, is no matter what our perception of how we're addressing it, whatever, it's being perpetuated no matter what. Some girl is having a kid with the white supremacist. Some girl is having a kid with the guy who pulls the gun out and tries to kill a woman. That's where we got to get to. the girl who is perpetuating the death upon other girls. Does it quite simply come down to sex? That girl wanted to have sex. Does it mean that she has to get pregnant to perpetuate the corruption? Or should the women start focusing and start talking realistically about those things, about their sexuality, about speaking outright about a sexuality of, I know what I spoke. You hear me talk about this all the time. I say guys should not, it's illegal for a guy to have children with more than one woman. He can't do that. It splinters the minds of the children, splinters the minds of the father, of everyone involved. Everyone's minds get splintered. So I talk right there. That's about sexuality. I identify that any guys that all unplanned pregnancies are the guy's fault. Because the reality is we'll talk very bluntly here, is that the girl has no clue when the guy's going to finish. The only one who's got the clue is the guy. And so you, the girl, as long as you're in that scenario, you're at the mercy of whatever that guy, whatever his true identity is, and you don't know it. You just met him in a bar. You just met him somewhere else, or maybe you met him in wherever, and whatever you think, but you don't know him until you're there in the act of having sex. And it's that act of having sex where you lose control. So maybe this is where women have to focus. Start speaking about your sexuality to your young girls so they're going to know. You tell them about the mistakes you made, the mistakes that you know, to where collectively all women are going to be handing down a playbook for girls of what to follow, what to know, what not to do. I'm telling guys, don't do this. Do not get girls pregnant because it's the guy's fault. You only should bring children into this world when you are 100% certain. I was 35 years old before I had any kids. I had sex before that. I'll say that I knew how to have sex properly because my mother taught me proper, not to have unplanned pregnancies. It's not hard to do that. I did it for 35 years. Well, let's see, not 35 years. I did it I only engaged with the other sex when I was 19. That's the first time. And so for 35 years, let's see, 16, for 16 years, I engaged in proper sex. Now, whatever else that includes in my sexuality, that's my sexuality. But my sexuality, I controlled it. I listened to my mother. I didn't get girls pregnant. Why are girls getting pregnant? And you could say, oh, love, give me a break. We all know. It's time, women, you got to start putting your foot down about sexuality to your young girls, because it's the young girls that are bringing single children into this world. And women, I don't care what you think. I don't care how much I say you are the power and the authority. There is no woman that has the right to bring a child into this world on their own. You do not have that right, because you are inflicting an imbalance into the mind of that child. If you think that, oh, well, I'm just going to, I'm going to get laid by this guy so that I can have a baby. How many women do you know like that? I know quite a few. I know a lot. So, as long as there's women like that, you are the problem. Women are the problem there. Now, on the other side, the other hand, yeah, guys are the problem too. But this is how we address it. You heard me say it. I'm telling kids, I'm telling everybody, no man is to have more children with more than one woman. No man is to do that. It is illegal. You are not to be dropping children all over the place. You're supposed to take proper responsibility for your sexuality in this world. So start talking bluntly about your sexuality, get it under control. I got mine under control. It's time that the women start teaching their young girls that, because just here in Ganawagi, hey, come on. I know women who were grandmothers by the time that they were 30. A grandmother by the time you're 30. And the mother, the grandmother, and the offspring are not with the guy or with the girl that they're not with them, because they perpetuate what the mother passes on, they perpetuate it. So if you're a grandmother by the time you're 30, pretty much certain that you're not with the parent, not with the father of your children, and pretty much guaranteed that the father of your grandchildren are not there in your daughter's life either. So this is the realities. No, I'm not saying it is right across the board that way, but where it is, address the damn thing. Stop women from having babies on their own. Single mothers having babies. You're perpetuating hardships in the world. You're perpetuating that upon your children, and you think you can raise a child properly yourself? No, you can't. Not in this world. Not when you're under oppression. It's ridiculous. That kind of thinking is ridiculous. Any woman, I don't care who you are, I know you. I know some of you. And you might take this personal. Well, if you do, it's fine. I did not do what you done. And because you're a woman, you think you made the proper decision. I could tell you, I didn't make that decision. You made the wrong decision. Women are making the wrong decision about their sexuality. So women got to get control of the number one thing, that is the interaction with men, sexuality. Got to get that under control. Okay,
2% of class to speak, and it's-
yeah, okay. There's a couple of people asking questions, then let's go there, and there's only two, and then we're gonna.
2% that asked to speak and it's 13 to 9.
Yeah, pretty much that'll be it.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is France. I'm the great granddaughter of Herméline, the granddaughter of Angelina, the daughter of Giselle. I'm the mother of Rémi Ago, Jean-Sébastien, grandmother of Jacob and Michael. In the Life Givers Nation, I'm temporary Turtle Clan member. And yeah, I took some notes while I was listening to you. Of course, I agree with you. It's time for all of us to speak about sex. And I remember once when I got to a certain point where I was old enough, maybe like in my 20s, and I was like sitting in a restaurant with adults of my age. And I thought, yeah, this is the time because there's no children around. Okay, so I'm going to start talking about sex there, you know. It's been 40 years ago. And when I did, those people that were sitting with me, they thought I was like conveying them to a sexual orgy or something because I spoke about it. So there's a misunderstanding about what sex is all about. There's also an industry that all of you knows that nobody never talked about. The industry of selling fetuses and selling children and all these things that makes all this industry is even more lucrative than the gun and arms industry. So that is a lot to say about it. And so everything is designed for all the girls and the boys too, to get caught into it. So you start talking about sex and everybody looks at you like, who are you? You know? Oh, you're too old, or you're too young, or who are you to speak about anything anyway? And this is like the wokeness mentality, that they will target your personality, they will target whatever, you're poor, you're this or you're that, and it's never enough, for it's always too much, whatever. I think these thing has to be brought out in the public, but there's one big problem is people don't even know how to speak. They never learned. And when they try to speak, they're shy. Um, they haven't got around to get their ideas, in a synthesis, so they can actually speak them out. They feel threatened by people who speak better than them. All these things has to be addressed. The language aspect is something that should be structured, like maybe, giving course to people, or having some kind of game, whatever, I don't know. There's games for everything on the television. Why wouldn't there be a game to teach people how to speak, whatever. And yeah, the pedocriminality and the industry of selling fetuses and all these things, this is a big thing to speak about. And when we start and if we ever start talking about that, then the sexuality will probably have less pressure. There will be less pressure on the sexuality issues, because and then there's all this thing about the public versus the private, because what I find out, that it's easier to speak in private to all the women's, to speak from one-on-one person, to help them out going to crisis, so then they can keep up doing the work that they do. It's more efficient, because when you start talking publicly, then you become a target. If you're an old person, like I'll be 65 this year's, I mean, it's easy for anybody to do harms to me, much more than a certain person that are in their 20s or in their 30s, and they know more about this world than I do, because my understanding about what the world is way past. Because when I was younger, that was not like that. It was not like that at all. We could actually walk on the street without being threatened to have their grandkids taken away from us. We could actually speak to anybody and nobody would judge us, because they were actually eager to speak to us. Now everybody's afraid of everybody. So there's something in the total biology that I studied, that it's called the Chinese hat. And it's like, it's the biology see that, in order to do a certain program of whatever it is, like a healing, sequences, or, like doing something that the body needs to do. If it sees that, well, like they're going up there, they're going down, and then they resolve, and it goes from point A to point B. If it sees that, you're gonna die in the middle of it, then the body doesn't do it. It doesn't even start the program, because the effort of doing the program would kill you faster. So when you come into the age of 65, like I am, and I'm sick, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna throw myself, going with, yelling and screaming everywhere, where I could be more efficient to talk to one person and help them to go through the day so they can do something. So when you're saying that women should do something, I think there should be a structure for people to learn, for the women to learn how to speak first, and to gather their ideas, you know. So that has to be, like, I remember when you were talking about emotion, you were saying that should be in the first level of the council. So that should be in the first level of the councils, that the women who want to speak about certain things, they could be talking amongst themselves first, and then they grow up to say, okay, now I'm at the level where I can speak out in the public, and I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to do it that way. If there's no structure, then everybody's going anywhere. And, you know, I think, I guess I said everything that I wanted to say. I just wanted to add maybe that there's a lot of people that ask me how come I don't answer the question or comments. I'm blocked from Facebook until tomorrow, so whoever is asking, you'll know. So this is what I had to say.
Yeah, okay, I understand completely what you're saying. Now, let's see, about, I think as long ago as even last year, we started talking about this with Guayaguero, our ex-Ganyangera teacher. And we talked about that we're gonna have a night of talking about sex, talking about sexuality, all of that kind of stuff, to teach the proper sexuality.
You said it recently. It's recently.
What?
It's recently. You said it also.
The what?
You said it recently also.
Yeah, but I think we talked about it even going back as early as last year. But anyways, it never happened. It didn't happen because the time was not right. So I'll say this, that we're learning a lot of things within the law recital. So right after we are out of law recital, we're gonna start maybe we're gonna have one Saturday night or one Wednesday night, or maybe we're gonna have a series of discussions on it, an ongoing discussion to address this, to create that parameter, that structure. Because this is something that we talked about, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, and I don't know on what levels we talked. I don't know if this was joint over the law recital or what. But I said that on that side of the world, they received their law also, or they received something. I mean, they call these 10 commandments. But these 10 commandments are not laws, and they don't even tell people how to do it. It says be good. How do you be good? Like you said, you need to have a structure. Obviously, if people need police to not break laws that are there, then that tells you, yes, people need to have that structure. They need to have those, like a rule book. So we'll start addressing that soon as we get out of the Great Law of Peace. We're gonna start first with maybe one evening that is set aside special just to discuss our sexuality, to talk about what we know about it. What is our knowledge of it? You know, we're not gonna go into talking about the techniques and what do you do and stuff like that. No, we're gonna talk about the proper management of it. Okay, so that's something we're gonna do. We're gonna start now. So big deal, just because we're saying it, does that mean that it's gonna be proper? Like, let's see if some sexologist is watching this right now and saying, oh, you're not qualified to talk about it. Okay, yeah, maybe we're not qualified, but we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna start doing this. So sexologists should start affecting this into society themselves, instead of saying, well, you're not qualified to do it. If they're qualified, are they doing it? Some are. We know there's people who are doing this, but not in the let's say holistic way. Realistically, only we can do that. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we're scheduled to end, if we think 26 days, we're scheduled to end sometime around the end of September. So we'll look at that in the first week of October, whatever that is, if it's the Saturday night or if it's the Wednesday, it'll be at that Zoom in the first week in October. the first Zoom where we're gonna address this, where we're gonna start talking about human sexuality. Okay,
October 1st is Saturday and October 5th is Wednesday.
okay. Well, anyways,
I know.
that's what we're gonna do now, so everybody know that you got enough time to start thinking about whatever in this issue. Okay. So there is something here then, an equilibrium that we can do together. Yes, I said maybe it's a little unfair to women for me to say, use women better do something. But you know that I've been doing something. I've been doing something. I've been saying stuff. You know, so in that area, you can't say to me, oh, you better do something. You better do something too. I can say, you better do something. Because there's a little lack of something happening there. Okay, so now we can do an equilibrium together. We can walk together. Yeah, in balance. Okay, so we're gonna address human sexuality, proper. Let's be careful not to go into the realm of Puritans. These were crazy people. These were sick in the head people. In the first place, they're religious, so we're not religious, so we're not going to run into the same insanity as them. You know, they're afraid of sexuality. They want to control it. We don't want to. We're not afraid of it. We don't want to control it. We want it to be free. So we're all going to learn from it. So we're going to address human sexuality on Saturday. What's the date you said?
1st of October.
October 1st, Saturday.
October 1st, Saturday, October 1st. We're going to address human sexuality. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so there we go. We just gained a little bit of ground. A little
Yeah,
bit.
thank you. Sue.
Okay, so let's go. There's one more.
Go ahead, Harold.
Hey, Harold. How's it going, man?
Good, man, good. How it go, everybody?
Good to see you.
See you guys, yes. I'll introduce myself. Harold Youngjus, Youngjut Gail, Youngjut Danu, Youngjus again, which for me means I'm temporarily under the protection of the Bear Clan through this tour wampum dialogue and the Longhouse Five Nations Confederacy. And again, now we're going for these sessions in addition to the recital, Wednesday Zooms, gives a chance for us to ask questions like this about science. Today's science, where you guys left off with the Ganawida at the top of the tree at the end of the falls. The question is regarding a comment that was made around the Ganawida knew that the people had to address their deepest, darkest thing, or something to this effect. And it was right after mentioning of the fact that the people still had questions around the fact that everybody was still trying to kill each other, people at war. And there was this test to the Ganawida that almost seemed like a proof of protection in the face of this ongoing war. And so hopefully not, getting us into what is supposed to be for tomorrow, but the clarification of the deepest, darkest thing is this almost unspoken locked into war, being locked into war where you can't put down your weapons because you know other weapons are pointed at you type of thing? Or is there something else to this statement? Is a question. No.
Okay, let's see. When an adolescent is, or a baby, when a baby is hitting another baby because that baby wants to play with their toys, that baby is at a stage of being confronted with evolution. That is the deepest, darkest thing. Whenever we are confronted with our evolution, which means at any given stage that we are at, let's say right now, whatever you and I believe, we know it is not a complete knowledge on anything. There is something else that will come along tomorrow and that will add to that, that will not complete our knowledge, but it will evolve our knowledge. Evolution. This is the thing that people fear. Now, of course, let's do a survey and put it out there. What do you fear? People are going to say
Spiders.
women, spiders, ice cream, whatever. People fear whatever. But the reality is that when we look in the so-called United States right now today, what I mentioned today was that about this kid or this person, 17-year-old in North Carolina who got stabbed to death 2 days ago in school. And then today in school in Maryland, another 17-year-old gets shot and killed in school. So here is a prime example of people of their deepest, darkest fear. There is something so urgent, so crucial that they address, but they don't. Why? Why wouldn't people address saving their children from getting killed in schools? What would hold us back from that? Of course, perceptions, and of course, these perceptions is what creates the fear in people to not address something, to not say something, to not confront, to not evolve. So in any area, at whatever stage we are at, when we were that baby that didn't want that other kid to play with our toys and we hit them, we were not confronting our deepest fear. Our deepest fear right there is, oh no, what if that baby gets my toy and plays with it? At that age, that was the deepest, darkest fear, because what else is it? A baby not going to allow another baby to play with their toys. So right there in our evolution, at that stage of being baby is our deepest, darkest fear. And we didn't address it. So the mother has to address it, but that's when we're looking at baby. So now once someone is of their own, what I see in all my life is that whenever people get to a point of where there's an issue that needs a resolution, what I've always seen is that people choose to do this instead. They choose to divide. Well, that tells us something that they're not addressing. And even if they're not afraid of addressing, the fact of what they're doing in dividing prevents them from addressing. So there is a deflection in both parties who are fighting instead of coming together to address. So anyone who deflects from something, it's because they're afraid of something. Otherwise, there's no deflection. So realistically, what we're confronting here, or what we're saying is the deepest, darkest fear, is in a society of people who have been locked in war. This means that it's not, the corruption isn't just war. The corruption is what led to that, what led to that, what led to that, led to that, that goes all the way back to that baby who didn't let the other babies play with their toys, and the mother didn't correct that child. So there's a behavioral pattern that went uncorrected, and this transfers over into the next thing in the next stage of your evolution. So people who are at war, it's not because they grew up, they're adults, and all of a sudden they've concluded, let's go to war. No, this is a corruption that is carried over from the time that they are kids, that was instilled in them from their parents, that was instilled in them from the time they were kids, and so on and so on, until wherever the original fear was placed into the people. But this is to identify that a series of fears that prevent us from correcting. So even let's take away the terminology of fear. Let's just say inaction. Inaction to correct, unwillingness to correct a wrong or a corruption within us, a behavioral corruption. And when it is not addressed, then at that younger age, as you know, that little baby will turn into a bully when they're in high school. And then that bully in high school will turn into somebody in the military, joining the military. Because a lot of bullies, as you know, go into the military because that's where their bulliness is nurtured. Their identity is nurtured in there. So we are. Anyone who's in a warring society is in a society full of corruption from head to toe that was afraid to address even the littlest behavioral disorder. The littlest, they don't care. You're sitting at the table, burp. Somebody, let's go. Yaz. We all know there's people who do that. Some people in our families. And maybe they, when we were younger, they did that to be funny. And it was funny to us. But when our mothers and fathers permitted that, it's not a matter of that they perpetuated a funniness within us. They perpetuated an ugliness within us. Now, most mothers and fathers will not allow that. If they seen it, they would say something, they would do something. But it's the kids who perpetuate that on their own. So this shows us something that kids, of course, are developing behavioral patterns on their own, outside of what their parents are aware of, which tells us that parents are not doing their parenting. Well, of course, in this world, parents can't do their parenting. So we're seeing a whole set of machinations of a system, a corrupt system, that takes advantage of every human being. Where they're at that stage of evolution, it's like having that devil on your shoulder saying, go ahead, do it. Go ahead, do it. Don't worry. Never mind. Grandma said, don't put your hand in the cookie jar. Do it. You'll get the cookie. So there is a whole machination in this society pushing people all the time to make the wrong decision. That's a society full of fears. That it's not one fear of addressing war when they get to that ultimate corruption. It's a set of fears that whoever you're going to see, that general or that president sitting at those peace talks, you know, they're only addressing what's on the surface. They are not qualified. They're not eligible to be addressing the things that really are the root of people being at war. There is no war that is being fought by people that is the cause that people are saying. There is always historical factors that stem from one little kid not allowing the other one to play with their toys, which stems from a mother or a father not correcting those behavioral patterns. So the deepest fear here is a series of behavioral patterns in a people who are stupid enough, devolved enough to be at war. Those people don't have a problem of being at war. They have a problem of not sharing their toys when they were babies. They had a problem of not treating their mothers right when not listening to their mothers and their grandmothers when they were little boys. They had a problem of treating girls wrong when they were teenagers. Anybody who's in the military, any guy, guaranteed they did not treat women right. And when they did feel like they were treating women right, then it was like a controlled experiment. It's not really the overall thing, because the guy of today's world focuses on this one thing and not the overall thing, like say, like what we are addressing, all the stuff in law recital, what a man must be in this world to affect peace for his mother. So the overall fear is, it's a conglomeration of all of this, but it comes down to, can a man be a man today? Can a guy actually stand for his word, what he says? You know, it's very hard. Very, very hard. It's very hard for me to do it in this world. And I'm coming from a position of where things are, I'd say, where everything aligned properly for me. You know, so if it's hard for me, it's hard for other people. I'll give you the example of when we had to make, and I didn't make this decision on my own. Actually, Edith was there to be a part of that decision, even if she didn't deliberate, even if I just said to her, go get the car. Stop, I'm gonna run out, I'm gonna bring my father. Her action was not a compliance with what I was saying, because she stood there and she, whatever, you could see it, weighed out the situation. And she seen that there was no other alternative but to go get the car. So in that sense, there was, I didn't make that decision on my own, because I did have the reaction of another person, in this case, Edith. I had the reaction of her to judge of what I am saying. If this is, am I making sense? Which is the reason why it's so important to have that in conversation, to have reciprocal interaction on everything. That when you make a statement, that I have to agree with that statement or disagree. But if we're in a conversation, you make a statement and I just let that go by, you don't know if I agree or disagree. So I'm adding fear to the conversation, because at a later point, if you don't know if I agree or disagree, then maybe out of respect or whatever, you might be pussyfooting around the circumstance, the issue. And thereby, my not affirming publicly when I'm supposed to presents an issue later down the road of it's a level of fear, that you don't want to address in case you misunderstood or it's going to just blow up. So it's so important of how we avoid confrontation in the future is by being vigilant in the here and now in all of our interactions. That our interactions today are it's not reciprocal. In most conversations, it's one-sided. And we know this like of guys and girls. Sometimes when it comes down to whatever, like a very important thing between us, sometimes we'll find that conversation is just one-sided. Either it's one-sided on the male side or the female side, whatever.
Edith will lose her battery, she's just at 10%.
Okay, I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, of course. It got me out of maybe a one-dimensional thinking about what the answer might be, right? And the fuller spectrum of what all goes into a society locked into war. So yeah, thank you kindly.
But tomorrow, oh yeah, we continue this story. And when we're in that story, we could think about it all we want right now. It doesn't matter. It's just like one of the things we're talking about earlier. We could be in the act of love and we could be talking about it. And we know that no matter what, talking about it, it just does not get us on the level of when we're in the act of love. So same thing with this story. When you're engaged in this story that confronted war with peace, then there are things that come up in that story that only come up at that time. You cannot even imagine it or think about it like right now, no matter how much we try to or whatever. So tomorrow, very important in what we're talking about right now, we'll see the exemplification of these things, the fear, and really how it builds up. And we'll see it tomorrow in the continuation of that story. Okay, that was it then?
Yeah.
All right.
I would like to say something, but if
Okay.
what do we do with Edith?
Okay, Edith, well, just hang in there. Just keep talking as long as you can. Let's try to get this done as fast as possible then.
I can try to make it fast.
Can I just add a little?
No. Go ahead.
Andréane, fille de daughter of Celine, granddaughter of Leon, granddaughter of Eva, temporary member of the Bear Clan in the Woman Life Givers Nation. I want to say that I will talk for my own self in response of what you were saying. And I can say that, yeah, surely I don't do enough, but yet, from these past 2 years, I've been taking really a lot of action, but most of them were teeny little and individual action that yous all here may have not seen it, and that I know nobody's seen it. I just did it in the store, in the gathering, in all the juristic stuff I've been in through at the court, at um, different place. So um, but what I ended up with, I was trying to raise my voice. I was trying to protect the children of the world, protect the old people too. My first action 2 years ago was a lot about the our grandfather and grandmother in the CHSLD they call, so in the health institute. I've made video, I've made fence, calling upon the genocide of our people. I've tried to when you give direction, I try to apply it. When you talk about the native child doll, to make a statement about it, do something. I did it. I get myself a doll. I make a fence. I talk about the genocide. I've made a post. Um, it's just a little action. I have about 1,000 of friends on Facebook actually. So it's not so bad, but they don't even see them because Facebook just censored me all the time. So not much people must have seen it. But trying to raise my voice, trying to protect children, and by the way I could figure, by the option that was there. At first, it was mainly the gathering, but I did a lot of other action too. But in the same time, in the store, talking directly to the people, telling them, hey, do you understand what you are doing, for who you are working? And I used to do this every day almost. But I ended up that they tried to kill me like 3 times almost. The last time last year's, I was barely dead. Since today, I try to heal of this physically and mentally. So, and I think that when this deep, because I didn't have people to stand with me, stand by my side. There was no man courageous enough to stand by my side. Maybe a couple of women, yes. They were in the gathering the most courageous, were all women. I see what, 2 guys, 3 guys in the thousands I've met in the gathering. That's, I can say they are courageous men. I can trust them. I can trust them to be at my side. This is not too much. If in the whole country, there's only 3, 4, 5 men courageous enough, stand. What can I do more? Being a woman.
Mm.
But today, I talk about, I actually talk a lot about singing songs. And we women, we were a couple at the kitchen, and we had this idea brought out that we should sing a song, all the women together, for the woman. So this is an invitation, and I think it's something that will happen. I don't know when exactly and how, but we thought maybe at the end of the recital would be great. Maybe it could be tonight or tomorrow too. It don't have to wait till the end of the gathering, no matter what. Yesterday, I was singing at the La Mairie de Montréal,
The city hall.
the City Hall of Montreal. I was singing that my country is a murderer. My country is a cemetery. And I was singing this at them, waiting for paying my fucking ticket of mask. Sorry about this. But yeah. So I was forced to complain because either way I get my house get taken from me or my car. Either both of us is not a good thing for me. So instead of just complain, then I try to touch their souls. I told at every person that I've spoke to, I've told them, you know, I'm in this situation because I've tried to save a child. I've tried to save the old person. The system is wrong and you are working for it. This is your business now. I've told this to every person I get through during this adventure. And I try to just stand strong and firm with a big smile on my face, giving them my money because money is not important for me. It is so important for them, so they can keep it anyway. No, this is actually, they should not have my money. They don't deserve to have it. But it's a fact that I have no man beside me, but actually I have you beside me. This is really good. You're maybe, are you the only man in this country that can stand beside a woman? This is for the man who's watching. So this is what I wanted to say.
Mhm. Okay, well then, here we have, your scientific proof, scientific evidence of really what's identified is that maybe I'm just, yelling out to you. Hurry up, come on, hurry up. Because we don't have much time. And so, you are the exemplification of what we identify of that women have to come together, because you saying as on your own, it's limited. But you find power in other women being in the woman's nation. That the approach of the things that you've got to do as individuals is amplified through the woman's nation. So it's like having a microphone in what you want to say it into the woman's nation. Because boom, your voice can be amplified that way. And so by the woman's nation, this is really who I'm talking to. I'm talking to yous here, really, for the rest, it's for the algorithm. So I'm talking to yous about what yous got to do, what yous got to get up to speed. And really only think about it from this way. This is the way that I keep my perspective as to urgency and how I comply with the urgency. Is that I always looked at, would I be able to carry my father physically? No matter what I'm doing, I got to be able to carry him. If I'm not, then I'm dead in the water there. So in all things, we got to look at, am I physically capable to do this? So the person get themselves up to the pace of where they can physically do whatever it is. Now, if it's not, we're not talking about lifting 500 pounds. So we're not talking about physically become a muscle woman or something, but physically get to the stage of where you know how to carry that weight and to push your voice into the world at an amplified rate. Because on your own, it's good. Of course, everybody do what you can on your own. But as you know, it's not enough. So you got to take advantage of what's at your fingertips of Woman Nation to amplify your voice, amplify whatever it is. Say it's on this issue of this woman who they tried to kill, put the gun in her face, this far away, gun in her face. So if it's just about something like that, Woman's Nation has more power to present something on that level than just you. That's a fact. Because if you got another woman there standing with you, assisting, well, if for anything, at least if you needed something while you're there talking, filming or something, and you needed a lighter and sage, well, then those women could hand you that lighter and sage at the very least. Do something like that. So think tanking is what he's got to do to brainstorm, brainstorm as to what are we going to do about this? Because on your own, an individual might only think this is what I can do. But all of a sudden, with others, I can do more. So, yeah, if you wish anybody, like I'm scolding, if it looks like this, or if I'm pushing you to where maybe you don't feel justified in the push, well, I'm still going to push you. And even if it's not justified, I will yell at you and say, it's still not enough. No matter what, it's not enough. Because of what we got to do in the time frame we got to do it in, we got to bend time. We got to do what we're doing now to affect its positive effects in the past where these things were broken. So we got to do, like we said, pull a rabbit out of a hat. That's what we literally got to do. So it's easier to pull a rabbit out of the hat if there's many people working together on it. So women, that's what I'm saying to you. Whatever I said a while ago, I don't really remember what I said a while ago, but that's what I'm saying to you. Get moving. We ain't got much time. Okay, that's it. Yeah, we'll end it there. That was the last speaker.
Raise her hand again, but she speak already. Let's you decide.
Huh?
France,
Yeah,
this short,
yeah,
that short.
I just forgot to tell you when I spoke that, you know, the story that you told about this little girl that you saved, the 6-month-old girl.
That we, I didn't do that on my own.
Well, yeah, that you use, sorry about my French. This was such a success story. And it seems to me that these days people are learning so many bad news that when we hear those news, like I wish we could find this girl to ask her what it did to her in her life to have gone through that. And I was wondering if it would be a good idea to bring success story of any one of us in a regular basis that will bring people to understand that our effort brings success story sometimes. That's what I forgot to say. And sorry, I cut you off. I thought the computer was going to stop. So that's what I wanted to add.
Okay, you can talk to anyone else about that. I won't be part of that conversation because I won't be part of doing something like that. We are not gonna be tooting our own horns. We're not gonna be showing the success stories of the things that we accomplished. Today, the only reason why we showed that was to fit the example of the day of what we were talking about. Now, I'm not saying don't do that before, because for some people that does help. They've got to see. Sometimes they won't believe. What's the end result? Is there a good end result in this? Well, yous will do that together on your own. I will not be a part of that. I am not going to be a part of resting on our laurels or even presenting something that would be misconstrued as that. Not saying it's not right, not good. It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea for me. I myself will not do anything like that. But for yous, for the Women's Nation, it might be a good idea to show young girls as to what the examples are. If you have some of those examples of what you're talking about, might be a good idea. All right, so basically just don't involve me in that conversation. I'm not a toot our own horn.
Yeah, I get it. It's like I was thinking about Andriane was telling us about the story that she went through helping elders and stuff. I was wondering, oh my, I would like to know about these stories because in those days, you know, it's fun that like she might have saved someone, you know, and it's important to show example of people that were brave enough to do that, and they did end up doing something that prolonged somebody's life or helped somebody's grandmother to be alive or grandchild to be alive.
Okay, well, look, you know that we put out this newsletter. There's 9 issues in it. We put this out in the early 90s to do exactly what you're talking about. So you also know that the women have been talking about this. The Women's Nation should have something like this. You gotta start documenting her story. It's not gonna be me who's gonna document her story. It's gonna be you women. So that's the key to what you're talking about, is getting it up and running of the Women's Nation, I don't know what you call it, newsletter or news or something. He's got to get it up and running.
It's already
Yes, and I would have something to say about that. Because just in the last council, we está soko, está ainda desculpa panchita, está ainda desculpa salsa, zapata ni honsagi, Michigan wanderista, que nata yuni yang kina sadista, anda harai gano sasne, tadi yang haga no waga no wisi honsaga no waraga gao noge. Just to say that in our last council that we had actually just the day before we started the law recital, we passed on council that we will be doing newsletter from now on. I mean, we had already said a long time ago that would be doing, but now it's been officialized through council. So when we officialize things through council, So all of the life givers in the nation are going to be bringing the news or what they know that has to be put in the newsletter to their heads. And we are going to be giving ourselves the task to put that together. So that's already been said. And to just link that with what was said by Andrea too. Just this morning, she was singing the song actually in the kitchen. And it was just so beautiful. And the idea came out because you were just talking to Wendy and to Coucou Francine that when we finish the little recital, we should go with drums or something to say, this is it, you know, it's like we are here and we cannot just like keep on, you know, doing like everything is okay. We gotta show the people in Montreal and everywhere, you know, exactly what you were saying. I'm not repeating your words, but then I suggested to Andrea, well, and after that, you know, you're with the native drums, everything, you know, maybe you should sing your song and everybody should listen to it because it's such a beautiful song and it's in French, you know, it's for the Quebec people. So ideas like that, you know, it's like for everybody's mind, you know, like, of course, we're following the lead of our original peoples here. And in the Turo Wampum, well, the spirit of reconciliation to correct genocide, it's there, you know, so also something for you to consider because that was spoken. And this also ties with what Harold said. And by the way, Harold, I'm super happy to see you and you look super good with those red locks that you have. And about the obscurity and the way you presented it about the psychology of the depths of the fears that we can have that are not in us, but that were inflicted in us. And that because it's been intrinsicated, well, we are still carrying and perpetuating it. And just to say that for now, it feels like a great responsibility of everything that we are doing in the work that we are carrying. And we have something important to do tomorrow. And I'm just very happy that everybody's here and that this little opportunity to say Nyagoa to everybody because you are all great and you are doing great and it's very nice.
It's funny because yesterday I was telling my two phrase quick, Angela, daughter of Jean, granddaughter of Jeanne, great granddaughter of Marianne. It's funny because yesterday I was telling myself that we should do songs because music is something that's really fast, easy to people and everything. So yeah, that's just it. It's funny. It's just how the timing. I was thinking about it yesterday, and then this morning the idea just came out.
Okay, that's it. Everybody's gonna jump up here and
Have a party.
say how happy we are. Okay, so we're not closing, as you know, because we're still within law recital. So just to identify that everything that we're doing, as you know, throughout the law recital, even before that, the Wednesday Zoom, Sundays, Saturdays, whatever other days, all of this is one ongoing continuous conversation. None of it is separate from the other. There's no well, sometimes even if there is like special interest subjects, you know that those things are intertwined anyways with the ongoing conversation. So this thing that we are addressing is about our evolution, about how we are going to pull our heads out of the darkness that we are consumed by. And whatever that darkness is, if it's war, if it's whatever, if it's somebody's addiction, if it's bad habits, whatever, no matter what the darkness is, that the our ability to address these things collectively is what's going to determine if we together take action in the amount of time that we have to take action in. We have to remember that there is a deadline here. Now, what's the deadline? Yeah. Nobody came along and said you have until, oh wait, yeah, they did. Came along and said you have until 2030. So there is a deadline, and you know that that deadline was adjusted to be sometime within the next 5 years. So we have a deadline. It might not be seeming to us that it is that much of a urgent deadline, because it still is. to us seemingly a long time away. Years seems to like a long time. So we got these whatever perceptions that are locking us into some level of complacency where we're lethargic in what we know has to be done. We're idle. Okay, so anyways, we know once these things are identified within us, then it may not be completely understood, or we can see the examples right away. Like, here's something sticking out of me, lethargicism right here. I'm being lazy, I'm holding off on doing stuff. We may not be able to see it and detect it, but we identify it collectively. And then, like we always do, we look at something and we ask, and we see that, is it true? Until somebody says, yeah, until it becomes the collective knowledge. And once it's there on that level of collective knowledge, then we know that there is those little fears inside of us that prevent us from addressing things or making corrections on our own. Once it's public, this is the key to getting something to the public arena. We got to think, why is there such division in the world? Why, when people have this issue, but yet they divide nations? For us, all our nations, right? Your community, my community, every community. When there's something so big that divides the community gets divided. This tells us that nobody is addressing. That means there's a fear that is overpowered, that takes us over, preventing us from addressing what in our hearts and minds we all know. Oh, I'm going to address that. I have addressed that. But the reality is here we are in the world of shit. We're in this world of shit for a reason, because our perceptions obviously are not correct with the reality. It doesn't align. So we need some kind of big push, a boost, some kind of something that's going to wake us up, a big slap, a collective slap the face, whatever. We need this. So every individual has to try every effort they can to be that collective slap in the face. And if it means that you're going to be hated, well, big deal. Be hated. Being hated means you're actually popular. So
That's right.
a lot of people want popularity. Well, the best way to be popular, you guarantee you're going to have everybody keeping you in popularity, is to have people hate you. So have them hate you for the right reasons. Don't go around robbing banks. Go around telling the truth. People will hate you. You'll be very popular. If you're very popular, remember what everybody says. Well, any kind of advertising is good advertising. If you're getting bad publicity, at least it's publicity.
Yep.
So if we put the issue out, no matter what, it will get the publicity. So we're going to find that wave, that sweet spot within us, that we're going to be the pressure that creates coal out of it, creates coal out of a diamond, creates diamond out of coal. We're going to put that pressure on, and we're going to create something that is going to fill this space of ugliness. We're going to fill it back up with beauty. And ultimately, you know what this means? It's going to be our mothers. We have to push the woman forward. If we want beauty, there's no guys that are going to be there in the front. It's going to be women. We want beauty. So let's get beauty rolling. All right. Ayoki at again, Hayati Sota Gunha. Nero not a headstone. They're going to go here. The hour quick. Ayoki at again, Hadam Dawi on Hetzera Gazat Stasra Neganuwe. Dam Dawi on Hetzera Asat Nigat Dardage, Ganyaga Hagar, Radinato. Tailoni, Riskarewge, Dam Dawi on Hetzera, Guego, Zihunzagi, and Wist Zihunzagi. So, everybody, try to keep your minds in the continuum. Always try to think as much as the diversity as you can, meaning not just one You think from 2, think from 3, from 5, from 6, from 9, from 13, 28 to 48. Try to think of all these things that are connected to all things, as these are the roots, like the little gears in each larger gear in the transmission: Mother Earth, Hamamoon, Sky Woman. This is the amazing knowledge that the Mayans had to be able to physically place these things in their mind, to create the space in their mind where they can see this. And so this is our job in Guyana Nasanaskanagoa, to create the physical place in your mind where this is always law. It's always your thinking. Dogatena no hoti dokso. Air to solid, air to solid, air to solid. Kenny has waits in you. All right, see you.